Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about how to be a successful buyer's agent in 2021. And I'm going to give you 8 tips that you're going to find useful that you can apply today. And by the way, if you're new to this channel, my name is Wilson. I lead a team here in the San Francisco Peninsula, and we sell over 100 homes every year at an average price point of over $1 million. And we have a couple of buyer agents on the team. You'll see them on this channel in the future if you haven't seen our other videos. And if you like this video after getting the tips, like, subscribe, comment below, hit that little bell icon so you're notified when we have another video. So let's get into it. Tip number 1, always frame the purpose of the call from the start. Now, if you receive a up call, it's pretty obvious that there's someone reaching out to you and you're gonna be able to identify as a buyer or a seller. For our sake, let's say it's a buyer reaching out to you. They're gonna tell you exactly what they want in terms of the questions they have, whether they're targeting a property and asking you questions about it, or if they're just in general a new buyer and they found you online. You want to frame the purpose of the call, which most of the time I'm gonna say something like, hey, Brian, I appreciate your call. The purpose of this call is for me to get a better understanding of you, your goals, and your needs, so I can give you the appropriate information so you could take the next steps to actually apply and get closer to searching for that home. Tip number 2, diagnosing a problem before prescribing a solution. Oftentimes as salespeople, we're gonna jump into, for example, Brian gives me a call and he says he's looking for a first home. I would naturally, as a salesperson, jump into trying to offer a solution, try to sell myself. Why should Brian work with me? And I'm telling you, that's a mistake. The last thing they want to hear is what you can do for them because you haven't earned their trust. They don't like you yet. They don't know you. You want to get to the point of making sure you're asking them appropriate questions, prescribing by understanding what their true needs are, whether they're moving because their landlord is obviously selling the property and they have to, or is it because they're new to the area, they just got new jobs and they're looking to stay within a search parameter in terms of a geographic location. Until you ask the appropriate questions, you're not gonna know the details that will actually help you closing for next steps. Tip number 3, ask F.O.R.D questions: family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Now you've earned the trust to have a conversation with them at this point, and you want to continue to dig to understand where they're coming from. F stands for family. That means, do they have kids? Where they move from? Is their family originally from town or out of area? This is all relative information that will help you get a better understanding of their situation. Next is O for occupation. Where are they working? Are they relocating because of a job? How long have they been at their job? What did they do for their job? Why is this relevant? You are also vetting for their personality and behavior type. Because if they're a business owner, they're likely a different disc profile than if they were an engineer or a nurse. And look out for possibly another video that we're gonna talk about because this is another subject on how can you close better, understanding the behavior of a consumer or anyone you're talking to. R stands for recreation. And you want to get a better understanding of what drives them outside of work, outside of their needs to find a home. So are they moving here because it's close to Napa? Do they like to go skiing and they're about a 3 to 4 hour drive from Lake Tahoe? Get a better understanding of what their true needs are. Are they looking to live close to hiking trails? That's another valid question. Do they want to take their dog to the dog park? How far do they have to be from one for them to feel comfortable? And the last D stands for dreams. Dreams is typically tied to their aspirations. Their aspirations on where they see their life, where they see their family growth, where they see their income, their occupation. But most important for our conversation, what ties all of this together is where they believe they should be living. What does their dream house look like? And this is the point where you can start asking them questions about the ideal home that they can move in right now. And tip number 4 is A.L.M. Appointment, location, and motivation. As a Zillow Flex partner, Zillow has vetted a script for up calls when a buyer is ready to tour property. And because they already have targeted a property, they've found that 70% from call to appointment rate, you use A.L.M. A stands for appointment. From the get-go, ask for the appointment. When would you like to see this property? What days work best for you? Even though there might be hurdles such as if it's occupied by a homeowner or a tenant, you're gonna still want to Give them that confidence you're gonna be able to schedule it. Next is location. They've targeted a property. You already know, generally speaking, the location that they're targeting. Ask them a question about that. What brings you to this area? Outside of this neighborhood, are you interested in this city or these couple of cities close by? Get some clarity in terms of where they're looking. And last is motivation. Don't ask a stupid question like, hey, are you motivated? Because they will tell you yes or they'll tell you no, but you want to understand their thought process behind it. You want to ask an indirect question such as, what brings you to the area, and more importantly, can you see yourself in your current living situation for the next year, 2 years, 3 years? Because that's gonna give you indication after they think about it, like, can I really see myself living with my parents for another year? Probably not. But if I did have the financial means, I'll probably move out. So this is all relative information, and it gives you a 70% or higher conversion rate from the up call for a showing to actually getting the appointment. Tip number 5, high probability statements and questions. Now, you're oftentimes going to work with a handful of different types of buyers, and you could categorize them because they're generally going to have similar questions and topics and ideas that they're gonna want to get out of you. The first type that's most common, most likely, is going to be a first-time home buyer. Now, first-time home buyers, as you think about it, they have a wide array of questions, and they tend to surround, can I afford at this time? Is this a good time to purchase a home? Where do I start the financing process? How many lenders should I talk to? How many agents should I talk to? What does the process even look like? What are some vendors that other than a lender that I need to talk to? Now, you can start to naturally assume what questions they have by saying things like, you're probably wondering when you should talk to a lender. And you're probably wondering what makes a good lender versus a bad lender. And even before giving them knowledge and giving them the specifics about actually answering that question for them, they're gonna start nodding their head over the phone like, wow, this guy knows exactly what I'm thinking about and what I need help with. And that's what we call strategic rapport building by utilizing high probability statements and questions. Now, it could be a completely another video about experienced buyers, move-up buyers, investors, for example, and you'll just have to look out for another video for that. And tip number 6, always preface next steps. Now, to me, next steps looks like I have a commitment and you have a commitment. Whether we establish that we're gonna book an appointment to see a property, my commitment might be sending you a calendar invite, but your commitment is verifying that you received it and also sending me other properties until our showing appointment that you might be also interested in seeing. As long as we can both show actions leading up to what we determine as a next phone call or next meet, I think there's gonna be a higher probability of helping this individual. It's never gonna be one-sided where I'm begging you and I'm saying, I'll do this and this and this and this for you. And it's never gonna be the other side where the buyer says, hey, this is what I'm going to do. They're never gonna say that. So you have to be very clear in establishing exactly what you need from them and what they need from you that you're gonna deliver so you can start building trust with them aside from that first phone call. Tip number 7, systemizing the whole process. What does that look like? At the very start of the funnel is the first phone call. But what happens after the phone call? We just talked about expectations, but what else are you going to send them that is of value via email, via text message, that is going to keep you top of mind for your client? Because trust me, in this competitive market, each client is talking to multiple agents before they decide on which agent they're gonna work with. So it's important for you to be top of mind, but for the right reasons. You don't want to be top of mind and following up with your first call and say, hey, I'm willing to give you a 1% rebate. That's kind of stupid. Don't do stuff like that. Always give and get, right? You're always gonna give value, and even if they ask you for something like a rebate, even if they ask you if you can show a property and it's 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning and you don't feel like that's an appropriate work hours for you. Now, I know some agents that they have different standards in terms of what they determine as appropriate and not. That's up to you to determine. However, when it comes to it, you wanna make sure that you establish next step procedures aside from that phone call. So after a milestone of a showing, what are some follow-up emails or phone calls or text messages that you can send? After writing an offer, telling them exactly what to expect and who else is going to be involved in that process, whether you win the offer or you lose that offer. Once you get into escrow, what does the escrow process look like? Do you have an explainer video, kind of like what we can do right here? And now that you're in escrow, hey, watch this 3-minute video. This is what's gonna happen. This is who's gonna reach out to you. Giving them an idea of what's gonna happen next and a couple steps before they actually think about what they need to know for the process is gonna give them assurance that you know your shit. So make sure you do that. And last tip number 8, ask them if you've answered all their questions. Now, oftentimes, I'm very strategic with this because I ask them, do you have any other questions? And that tends to be a no answer. However, we should ask instead, did I answer all your questions? And hopefully they get to the point where they say yes. Them giving you that yes is the top of the funnel for you to ask for the next thing, which is whether you've already established next steps or if you're at the table and you're ready to sign that exclusive agreement because they've said yes and you're starting the funnel to close for the ultimate signed contract. And now I'm gonna share some mistakes that I commonly see from newer buyer's agents. Mistake number 1, not leading the conversation with questions and instead selling yourself. Oftentimes, newer agents really think about what is in it for them versus how can I help the client. And you're gonna come across as commission's breath and no one's gonna listen to what you have to offer because you do not have trust with the client yet. Make sure you ask the appropriate questions. Visit the beginning of the video that gives you some ideas in terms of how to start the conversation with questions and forward questions. Mistake number 2, trying too hard to pre-qualify this person before offering them a solution for what they requested. So specifically, when they request a showing for a property, are you asking a question like, are you pre-approved yet? Have you talked to a lender? How many agents have you talked to? It makes you sound defensive. It makes you sound threatened. And that's not the purpose of the call. The purpose of the call is to be a solution for what their request is, as I've stated. So if they want to see a property, be a solution finder and figure out if you could show it. Mistake number 3, which is related to number 2, disengaging from the conversation subconsciously because during your pre-qualification process or during your conversation, you hear something that you are judging them by. For example, their credit situation, their down payment situation, they just lost their job. They have to ask another family member to see if they qualify. It's gonna be important for you to be patient with them. Oftentimes they've talked to, like I said, multiple agents. I can guarantee you most of these agents are dropping off from the conversation early because they feel like there's nothing there. Don't be that person. Mistake number 4, starting the call with a pitch. Oftentimes I see buyer's agents are so excited when they get a call and then the person says, hey, so-and-so, I found you and I'm ready to search for a home. And the first thing I hear from these agents' mouths is, well, I'm so happy you reached out. I'm the best. I do so much work in this area. I'm the expert. I've been waiting for your call. And you just sound too eager over the phone and you're puking, as we say, all over the client. It's kind of like this. If you are having a headache and you're going to your doctor's office and your doctor is supposed to solve your problem, however, right when you sit down and he enters a room, he tells you, I went to school in Stanford and I got my PhD at Harvard and I've helped 5,000 clients before. And that's why I can help you with your headache. You don't care about any of those qualifications. All you care about is your problem, your headache. So thinking about that in relative to real estate, what are the problems that you've uncovered based on the initial conversation that you've had with this client? Mistake number 5, buyers are liars. Oftentimes when we lose a client, we start thinking to ourselves, man, this person said they wanted city number 1, but they ended up buying in city number 2. That just means you didn't set really good expectations. You didn't ask enough questions to uncover that as much as they're gung-ho about city number 1, that they're also semi-interested in city number 2. And a really good example is affordability, where they want a more affluent area and they're targeting it, but maybe their qualifications might qualify them for a really nice home in city number 2 instead? Have you asked enough questions, such as, are you interested in city number 2? Versus when they tell you they're interested in the first one, you spend all your time and energy on this one, and when you find out they don't buy in this city and they bought with someone else, it's your fault for not asking the appropriate questions. And last, mistake number 6, not reaching out for help. As a newer agent, oftentimes you want to prove to yourself that you can handle the business on your own, but your conversion rate, because your skill level is not quite there yet, might not be a high percentage. And oftentimes, if I were you, I'd be a part of a brokerage or a team that has agents that is automatically closing because they're really good, they're scripted, and they know exactly next steps, and they're experienced. Oftentimes, I think it would benefit you if you reach out to them, even if that means splitting a commission, because you would get exposure you otherwise wouldn't have, so you can learn and shortcut the process to getting higher conversion rates. And thank you so much for watching our video. If you're looking to grow your business or become more successful in real estate, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're gonna be releasing a lot of content based on your comments and based on your feedback. Also, make sure to hit that little bell icon so when we do release new videos, you're alerted.